What up, everybody, and welcome back to the Every Dad Podcast. My name is Ryan, this is Ty, that's Blake, and that's Rob. And again, we don't have it all figured out, but we're trying to have conversations about how to figure it out. So, before we get started on our topic today, I want to find out, Rob and I work together, Ty works with me and Rob, we all three work together. Blake, he don't work with us, but
one of these is different than the other.
One of these is different than the other. But hey, I want to find out, like, how did you guys, like, how did y'all meet? Like, how did you meet? What's up? Y'all go back a minute.
You want to take it or you want me to roll?
Why don't you start, and then I'll fill in anywhere you're wrong.
Yeah. So it's gonna happen.
So can we talk about your baseball stuff?
Sure.
Yeah. So this Blake Reese, everybody.
Number 12.
What year did you graduate from UF?
2019.
And you were on the national championship baseball team for the University of Florida Gators.
I was on it, yeah.
You were on it.
On the team.
You were on the team, but one year you were a stud.
I had one good year. We'll call it good year.
A good year. So anyway, how'd y'all meet? I'm sorry, Blake Reese, everybody. How'd y'all meet?
So it's really amazing to me just how this has all gotten orchestrated.
Yeah.
And how just the way that God moves and how He can bring people and stories back together. So Ty and I go back to high school. We were actually very close for a few years. He was older than me. He was a senior and I was a freshman. And we'll get to that.
I don't know
maybe.
about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wrong.
So he was somewhat of a big brother figure to me. I know I joke.
I'm like Ty's big brother.
It's true.
So I'm like your big brother. Anyway, sorry,
Yes.
I interrupted. Go ahead.
So he was. I joke about, I know the old Ty, the lost Ty, but
Ty.
I mean, it's truly like we both were very different people than we are now.
Yeah.
So living different lives, different.
Let's talk more about that one day. Sorry.
Just to prove it,
Yeah.
Blake and I have been in a car, me driving, going 120 miles an hour on the interstate.
Yeah, that's true.
Over 10 years ago.
True.
Yeah.
Statute of limitations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know if that's
Over-
a thing,
over
but
10
it's
years
fine.
ago.
All right.
So, but
Whatever that statute is.
despite a lot of the stuff that Ty was involved with, I have my own issues for sure. But he
I
was.
love how that was said.
Your credit's
Yeah.
coming. He was very protective of me. He didn't let me. He wasn't letting me around a lot of this stuff, and always I truly had my best interest at heart. So we were, like I said, close for a couple years, and then just completely split ways. You came over here to Panama City, actually at Gulf Coast, and I stayed back in high school, and then eventually went to UF.
Yeah.
And we just there. I don't know if we had. There was a few years with probably zero communication.
Yeah, for sure.
And then at some point when I was in college, you reached back out to me. We talked maybe a little bit, maybe talked some baseball or something like that. But lo and behold, my wife's from Destin. I'm obviously Tallahassee with Ty, and we were kind of looking to move back into the Panhandle. I worked outside of Gainesville for a few years following college. Panama City was a place my wife and I wanted to move to, so made it work with the job. And then about the time we were settling in and moving back, you were coming back to Panama City,
Yep.
right? So we kind
And we're
of
so glad you did.
Yep.
yeah. So you were here before and left New Orleans.
Yep, New Orleans
for a year or so. And,
Not quite 3 years. 2.5.
okay, more than that. Yeah.
2.5 years and 3 kids.
Yep. So you were on staff. You came back and we were on staff at Highland Park,
Yeah.
which I'm of course a member of now.
Yeah, and we want to thank Highland Park for supporting this
Let's go.
podcast. There
Yep.
we go. I
Yep.
did it.
So-
I threw it in there.
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. So, just kind of cool. I was when I moved back was kind of when I was really getting serious about my faith, and I kind of knew where I wanted my life to go. I had been exposed to it. We were actually like kind of trying. My wife and I were looking for a few different churches and connected. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come to Highland Park?" So it's funny because at the time I was looking for like small church. I was like, I grew up Catholic. We stopped going to church when I was maybe 12, but I had the stigma about a Baptist church for some reason. I'm like, you're just dunking water and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm literally like, I want a
Dunking
small
water.
church and anything but a Baptist church.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sure enough, of course, but Highland Park's a large
Yeah.
church. How
Yeah.
many? 3,000-4,000?
Yeah, something
Whatever.
like that.
And
We don't like
and
to
a Baptist-
brag, but you know.
So started coming the first time we were in there and got to hear Pastor Stephen preach. I think he was in Romans 1 literally the first time I ever walked in there. I'm like, oh, this dude's not afraid to go through some tough scripture. So really exciting to me. And then not long after that, you and I had a conversation. I was kind of there, like I was like, salvation was like this for me, and it of course happened. And then Ended up not long after that kind of scheduling a baptism, to follow through in believer's baptism. And so it just happened really fast.
Yeah.
But anyways, just that story of like.
And who baptized you? That's what
my good friend.
There we go.
Yeah.
Where was that?
Baptized my
I
wife.
don't know where you
Since
were.
high school.
I don't know how that happened.
What was that?
No. You weren't
was I
ordained.
sick?
You weren't ordained at that point.
Oh, really?
It wasn't long
yeah.
after that. It was like June or
That's
something.
the
Yeah,
This
caveat.
happened
it.
in like April, and it was
Got
I think June was when you
Yeah.
actually got ordained.
Haven't practiced on all the interns yet.
That's true.
Took me
That's
3
Which is cool.
hours.
And just side note, you got to baptize my pregnant wife as well about
Yeah.
a year after that.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty cool.
Really,
That's awesome.
really. So a lot of cool memories have already started.
Yeah.
forming.
That's awesome.
And we're forever thankful. I don't want to leave this area anytime soon.
Yeah.
And for many reasons, because of you guys and the relationships we've made, and of course, Ashley and Catherine are very,
Yeah.
very close now. And what a resource she's been, by the way, Ashley stepping into motherhood.
Yeah.
So just amazing to me how this is kind of coming full circle.
Yeah. It is. It's really cool.
Did I screw anything?
I mean, most of it was right. It's funny to me. You were super humble on that because you are right that we both went separate ways. You went the right way, and I went another way.
That's another story for another time.
I was still I was lost in my own right. I can
Episode
assure
3,
you.
no.
Episode 3.
So yeah, no, but I think that's a really good representation, and like it is crazy when I think about sitting here, with you, and I'm like, we're having conversations about ways to better ourselves, and really kind of this iron sharpens iron friendship. Because the reality is, I knew you. I was a couple years older than you, and I felt like an opportunity because I think a couple times you came to church with me while I was in high school. I think that's why you were in the car that night. I think that was to
once or twice,
to go to church, and so I
really
felt
wanna
like
get
I
to
kind of
church.
had do what?
Y'all really want
Yeah,
to
we-
church?
we were-
Y'all wanted to get
Another
there.
side
Yeah.
note: my grandfather was actually a member of was it Thomasville
Thomasville Road,
Road Baptist. So
Yeah.
you were at my grandpa's funeral as well, which was at
That's
the
right.
time the church your dad.
I
was
had forgotten
pastor
about
at.
that. That's right. So, but anyways, yeah. So we I just I think about I had an opportunity. I feel like to really kind of lead you well, but didn't do a good job with that. Really felt like I kind of, to be honest with you, squandered a lot of that time and some very valuable, precious years there.
Did he ever apologize to you?
I'm sorry.
Nah, you don't need to apologize.
Yeah. Oh,
No, I mean I
No.
say that because like, all right, so we're talking about. Let me transition like in a weird way. Like we're talking about being dads, right? And sometimes being that leader in the household requires that I've had to do that. I've had to go back to somebody
100%.
that I totally messed up on when I had the chance to lead them right.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and apologize. It's a very humbling moment,
Yeah.
right? And so, but I think
For
that
sure.
leads well in the house.
I've heard it is very humbling.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You
If ever
jerk!
an apology was warranted.
Yeah.
So no, but it's cool though, and I'll say this: being involved in ministry, in student ministry specifically, for such a long time, which is crazy. Almost 10 years now, I've been involved in student ministry. We've gotten the opportunity to go and speak at a lot of different schools, and I've gotten the opportunity to talk to just a lot of different young men. And the story that keeps going back, that I keep talking about when I'm talking about perseverance, or I'm talking about how really diligence and hard work, is even sometimes more important than, just talent or ability. You're the story that always kind of came to mind. And so, I always talked about how, when I think about somebody that works hard, that really has taken the skill and the talent that they have, but really like turned that into, something that is really, really, really good. You're the story that kind of came to mind, but
I appreciate
That's
that.
cute.
yeah, well, that's
cute.
one word for it. But anyways,
He's being serious, bro.
Oh,
no,
sorry.
so it's cool. It's cool. It's it's really cool to be here. And honestly, the first conversation we even had about this podcast was actually like right across right here, and
Yeah, like 2.5 weeks ago.
the same coffee shop like 2.5 weeks ago when you got roped into this thing. it's cool. We were talking about something else.
Here's the thing. Ty's got like 1,000,001 business ideas.
How many of them are good though?
Yeah.
Most.
Right.
The problem is I'm like, it sounds like a lot of time, and you're passionate about it. Can I get behind it? But he couldn't even finish
I didn't
getting
even finish
this
the
out of his
sentence.
mouth. I'm like, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Literally, I was
I'm
like,
all in on it.
and it wasn't even what we were going to talk about. And I had like 5 minutes left, and I was like, hey, really quick, I want to talk to you about this last idea. And I go, fatherhood, and it's going to be really important because I feel like there's just a lot of people that need to hear. And that was about how it went.
Yes.
And you were in. Yep. And so, no, super cool. So very thankful. The Lord is super merciful, and so to be sitting here with all of you guys for us knowing each other for such a long time, really, really cool.
All right, so as we're sitting in Sola Coffee Bar, look at you picked it up right at the right time. Sola Coffee Bar, again, thank you to them for giving us this space, and What's Up Media, showing the lights, video, all that stuff. And I hope I got that right too. So as we get started here, like our conversation today, as we're talking about being dads, right? Let's talk about how important being present is, right? Like, and we've all kind of had this conversation, right? Our jobs are demanding sometimes, like we're having to be gone a lot, like, but presence, being present at home, being present emotionally for our family is important. The people that we interact with sometimes don't have that presence. Yeah. And we've seen the effect of that, right? And, I go back to you, like you desire that. You want that to be part of your life and who you are as a dad and a father and as a husband to your wife. So let's talk about how important presence is. Like me growing up, my dad was present, right? Like he was. I had a great model of a dad. He was there. He listened. He talked to me. I knew that he loved me. I knew that he cared for me. Like I wasn't a star athlete, but I was decent at soccer way back in the day. And I can always picture my dad just standing on the side. He was always in the same spot. Like I knew he was there. And then even today, we have a great relationship, being able to talk. Like so I understand presence, and I tried to take that into my own family. I haven't always done well with it, right? Like there has been times where my wife has said, "Hey, bro, I need you to put down the phone." Yeah. Right? Like, and that's a crutch for a lot of people. The phone.
Ashley just gave an amen watching that.
Yeah. I mean, like she's like, I said, "Baby, I'm here." She's like, "No. I need you to. I know you're physically here, but I need you to be present emotionally and mentally." And so, and that hit me hard because a lot of times I was thinking about the job or thinking about the next thing that we had to do or thinking about the project that I was working on. So presence, I know for the wife, presence is absolutely important. And I'm sure it's the same thing with your wives. But
being there physically is step one.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I'm sure we could easily pull up some statistics, and maybe we'll go through it at some point on just how prevalent, an actual lack of a fatherhood altogether in the household is. And I would be willing to bet you could attribute all kinds of, high crime rates, lack of education, just all these different stats you could tie to. Well, what's one commonality? Yeah. Well, there's not a dad in the house. So getting dads in the house is step one.
Right.
Yeah.
But once we get there, it's okay. It's, being there physically it's actually not good enough, right? Like you talk about the survival thing. And, well, I'm just getting by. No. It's an emotional presence. Yeah. It's a spiritual presence. Yeah. It's all these different things. So some of my favorite videos you watch are, and I know that we're probably going to reach a lot of moms and stuff at some point where maybe, it could be, a dad passes away or something. And so there's going to be situations where, for some reason the dad isn't there. But these videos I laugh at because you see, and I just saw one the other day where kids acting up, disobeying, causing a scene. Mom's trying her best to corral them and get them under control. And then all of a sudden, dad comes home from work, walks in the room, kid sits down, goes on the bed, and is quiet. And it's like, that speaks volumes as to what the role of the dad is. And like, hey, here's a calming, controlling presence. Whatever, like this video I saw, whatever the reason was that dad put himself in a position to be able to have that immediate effect on the kid. Like, I can't mess around anymore. No more disrespecting mom. That's the point we kind of want to get to. Is like your very presence, not just physically, but you've done something to change the entire mood of the room when you're there.
Yeah.
But I mean, we talk about it emotionally too, right? Like there is this aspect of listening to your kids. Mm-hmm. Like I remember my best friend growing up, man. I lived with him for a little bit because my parents had moved, and it was right at college time, and I'm living with my buddy. Well, his dad just lit him up about something, and the entire time that he's griping at him, like trying to correct him, he's watching the TV.
Wow.
Well, hang on. And like this dude that I grew up with, like no emotion, right? Just a tough, skinny little dude, man. But his dad's correcting him while he's watching the TV, yelling at him, not even paying attention to him. The thing that got him, we got in his truck and we left. The thing that got him was he said, dude, my dad didn't look at me one time.
Yeah.
He said, my dad didn't pay attention to anything that I was saying. And I'm like, and that scarred me. It scarred me in a good way.
Yeah.
But like, I never want to be that for my kid. I never want to be that for my wife. Mm-hmm. I want to be present and there emotionally, physically, spiritually for them. I don't want my kid to ever go, man, my dad wasn't there. And I think there's so many young children, even older children, that just never had that because dad's busy doing something else.
Well, it's like right now I'm in the stage with young kids, like they're hype when I come home. You know what I mean? Like they come running over there to it. So it's easy and it's not, because I can see even my 5-year-old now, it's like she called me out the other day, like, Dad, get off your phone. I'm like, oh, you know?
Yep.
Hey,
how'd that
hurts
feel?
a little bit,
you
probably.
just stomped right on him, yeah. And so I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And so it was like, no, because she wasn't just like, she wasn't playing, you know? She was trying to talk.
Yeah.
She wanted to play with me. It was time together.
So let's recap that. Like your child wanted to be with you.
Imagine
that. Imagine that. And I think that's part of the beauty of this right here. Like it's okay to say, man, it's okay to be with your wife. It's okay to show affection to it's okay to be with your kid. Yeah. They want.
Dude, it's a privilege to have somebody wanting your time.
Absolutely.
Here's something too. Something I was just thinking about the other day.
I'm sorry, I got loud. My bad.
No, you're good. Something I'm just
excited.
I get excited.
Your beard muffles.
My bad. Thank you.
Windscreen.
Something I was thinking about the other day is every single person that you've ever met started out thinking that their parents were superheroes. So, like, when you actually start thinking about that and you think about the power of that statement, the way that was either affirmed or it was proven to be not true was through something, like presence, where it's something that happens every single day. The reality is most of the decisions that we make as people, but that can be obviously transferred into fatherhood, most of the conversations or the decisions that we make as fathers aren't around some huge moral right or some huge moral wrong, but it's a decision to be either just average, just kind of go through the motions and survive, or to be excellent and to go, you know what, no, like this is the most important work. And so because being a father is one of the most important work, I'm going to clock in and make sure that I handle it with, even more. Right. Yeah. I don't just want to give them the leftovers of my energy and my ability, my conversations. And Liam the other day, just like what you said, Rob, like Liam the other day, I was having a conversation with him. He was trying to show me something that he had built. And Aiden, who loves he's not even 2 yet, and he loves to climb up, couches and like jump off of them. And he's always doing something within 10 seconds.
How many times has this dude been to the ER?
He is not 2 yet. And I'm a good parent. Like,
sorry, my bad.
There's just a lot to keep up.
But he has been. I just want to say that preface.
Yeah, you are a good parent. We've witnessed you be a good parent.
He's been to the ER 3 times. And just last Wednesday, he hit a window and he just split his head open.
Hey, that's called a boy.
Absolutely. And, well, I've got 4 of them, and nobody does this. There's different, and then there's just completely built different. But anyways, like he was doing something, probably climbing on top of the fridge or something, and trying to show me this really cool thing that he had built. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh no, Aiden. And Liam immediately stopped talking. Yeah. And I was like, what happened? Dad, you're not looking. And I was like, wow, like he's already at 5 years old, like he's picking up on that. And so the note that I made to myself as a dad is, man, I really, if it's going to be something that distracts me, like I think it's okay sometimes for that thing to be like, you know, his mom or his brothers.
Yeah.
But I don't want that thing to be something that didn't need to be a distraction.
I would
in the
argue
first place.
in some cases it's a good thing for him to see that wife takes priority. Actually,
for sure.
Yeah.
No,
some
I agree
cases,
with that
yeah.
100%.
And that's going to go against culture.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're so ingrained to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
We're so ingrained to like, it's my right as a husband. It's my right as a dad.
I deserve this.
I deserve this time. No, like, you know, they say when you get in management, you lose rights. You lose the right to gripe. Right. I mean, whatever. Like as a dad, like you lose some rights. You lose the right to put yourself first. As a husband, you lose the right to put yourself first. Like,
yeah. No.
you know,
You know, we're called as husbands to love our wives like Christ loved the church. Well, how did Christ love the church? I mean, it's sacrificial.
Yeah,
love.
for
So
sure.
I mean, that's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
And I think that would extend largely to your kids. I mean, the whole presence thing is not going to come without sacrifice.
For
Whether it's
sure.
a hobby
Yeah.
or just your time in general. Hey, man, I got the ball game I got to watch.
Yeah.
Or this Netflix series, it's so good. I want to see. No. I mean, you have to put a lot of those things
I know.
Your money.
We tried to invite you over to watch the World Series game one time because your team was playing, and you said, "Nah, I can't. I got to spend time with my wife."
I did tell her I promised her I'd watch it with her.
That's
Well, she
right.
fell asleep. I mean, within.
So you could have come. Anyway, whatever. But no, I appreciate that. Like you didn't try to hide it with some sort of excuse. You said, "Man, I'm spending time with my wife."
Yeah.
And that's you sacrifice.
Sorry, dude. She gets priority. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like
I'm also scared of her. So
There you go.
yeah.
she's small.
Tiny boss. Is that right?
Tiny boss.
That's she's tiny boss. Yeah.
I'm not saying.
She's short,
She's
but no.
She's like not even 4'11".
Yeah.
She actually. I'm going there. She qualified for Little Peoples of America scholarship coming out of high school.
Okay.
But wouldn't take it because she didn't want it being read out at graduation.
I love that.
But she's
That's awesome.
she wears it well.
That's good.
Man.
But we would all agree, though, that presence is huge.
Yeah.
And when there's not, there's detrimental effects to the family. And, you know, we've seen it, you know, working in a church. Yeah, we get a lot of different conversations from families to kids to, you know, children are very honest, right? Like we've had kids just say things that we've had to address because of what they're seeing at home. And I think that's important. Like, and I think people need to know, like, our kids watch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
They spot a phony too.
Yep.
They spot the
absolutely.
phony. They spot the fake.
Yep.
You know, they're watching how we treat our wives. They're watching how we do business. They're watching how we treat the waiter at the restaurants, the server, whatever the correct term is these days for them. Like they're watching literally everything that we do.
One thing unique about raising a daughter is I have to set the example for her on what she should be looking for in a husband.
That's
potentially one
dope.
day. So
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
My father-in-law made it very hard on me because he is like a rock star dad husband. I mean, you talk about like sacrificial love and putting his family first, and the way he treated Ashley growing up and the way he honored her.
Yeah.
There was times where, I mean, throughout the time that I was dating Ashley, just like constantly challenging me to be better in a healthy way, not like trying to change me, but like, hey, I expect better of you. You shouldn't. Why are you worried about these things, or why are you getting involved in that? Like, I expect better of you, and it was because her dad modeled that. So I'm like, well, obviously, I want to be that for my daughter. So the way that I interact with my wife and treat her, you know, I don't. There's a high likelihood that because she's so used to me in the house growing up, that she's going to look for something like that because that's what she's used to.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, as men, like our wives are going to think differently of us when we're present.
Yep.
Like they're going to find that attractive, right? They're going to, but it's a good thing, right? And that's what I guess this conversation's a little, you know, personal to us all because we're in the middle of it. We have jobs and we have things that we have to do. But I try to make sure that, man, I am present. It's hard for me to open up and have conversations like about how I'm feeling or how the day was. I'm not usually that type of guy, but when I go home and my wife asks me how my day was, like I'm present in that conversation. But I haven't always been that way. Like I would come home and then leave and go do something else. I would come home and be on my phone for work, because I was working with some people overseas that was different time frames. So I would be on my phone all the time. And I didn't do well early in marriage being present. And it took a toll a little bit on me, on her. But once I figured out where I value her for who she is in Christ, who she is as a mom, who she is as a wife, I started to able to understand that presence was huge. And it was a powerful thing. Yeah. And I want to make sure that the dads know that.
Yep.
Right.
So what are some, maybe this is a good question. What are some practical things right now that are in most homes or, and I'm kind of alluding to certain things, but it could be really anything that really just seem to take a lot of time. It requires intentionality to not be distracted by these things. These are things that really help or take away from being present to your wife, your kids at home.
I mean, the TV and phone is low hanging fruit, and we've already touched on that.
Yeah.
But that's easily, and you mentioned it, I think, but Ashley's been on to me about that too, about the phone thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad she calls me out on it.
Yeah.
But that's certain. I mean, they just and if they don't, if you did have a long day, it doesn't matter when you get home. It doesn't. You could have the worst day ever.
Yeah.
But they still deserve your best when you. Get
Absolutely.
Home. So there's really no excuse.
It's a choice. It's a choice to clock in. You said it earlier, that terminology.
Yeah.
All right. Clocked out of work, clocking in at home.
Dude, I want to go to bed tired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to go to bed knowing that I gave my wife a little bit of reprieve from the stuff that she I don't mind cleaning the dishes or putting up I'm not great at putting up the laundry because she says I do it wrong, but you have to fold a towel a certain way.
Literally, I was just going to ask you that. In your house, and every house is different. Yeah. Is it a two-fold? Is it a threefold?
It's a threefold, bro.
Does it look like a square?
But it's a certain way.
I'm not kidding. I had her teach me this yesterday.
So it took me 3 years of marriage.
Then you start to be a dad of toddlers, and now all of a sudden you got to do those little onesie things that look like frogs, and you got to tuck those in a certain way. And I'm just telling you.
Oh my god! Yeah, so but I don't mind, right? And I've heard dads say, "Man, that ain't my job."
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. No.
I hear that all the time.
You sacrificially serve, and if that sacrificially serving is folding towels or doing dishes, do it with joy. Do it because you're home. And it's okay, right? As men, we're manly men. I got a beard. You got a beard.
I can't grow.
You can't grow a beard. You got nice hair. Ty's got nice hair.
It's the first time you've acknowledged.
Yeah. Y'all have muscles. We have flow, right? But we're men. We're not afraid to be men. We're not afraid to be masculine. But we're not afraid to wash the dishes either. No. I think that's okay.
Yeah. So we talked about being present. We talked about low-hanging fruit.
Oh, that's good.
What are some practical ways? What are some practical ways that you clock in when you get home to be present that somebody else will be able to take and go, okay, these are super helpful?
Well, I think we talked about electronics and everything, but even the busyness of just seeing I need to do dinner or I need to get this cleaned up or whatever, especially with younger kids, it can wait. Yep. Let that be after they're gone to bed. Mm-hmm. And you only get a couple of hours from the time you get home till it's time for them bath and bed. And my kids, once they're out of the bath, they're passing out. Even if they want to stay up, they're done. So make the most of that window and devote it to them. The dishes can wait. You got to eat, but all the other stuff, it can wait. And then I found that's normally the time that Carly and I are able to talk. And that's when, hey, so how was your day? Honestly, we joke and a lot of times we say it laughing, but it's that deep sigh of, all right, they're in bed. So hey, how are you? Yeah. How was your day? Yeah. But don't let all the stuff that's got to get done give them the attention.
I would just add too, the little moments, when and especially for all of us here, but like, don't miss that prayer with your kids when you put them to bed. Don't miss those little, whatever that routine is where you're like very intentional.
It'd be weird if I put my 18-year-old to bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there might be a.
But just tonight rolling there, Jesus loves me.
Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, like, Dad, leave me alone. Like, but like, yeah, don't on my end, don't forsake praying for your kids.
Ashley and I are going through a book that Catherine recommended to her, and we just went through the chapter talking about habits, and you'd be amazed all the little habits you have.
Yeah.
And just making sure that those little things become, and it obviously you have to be really intentional about it for the first, I don't know, several months maybe, until it just gets locked in. It's like, okay, put the kid, wife and baby are asleep. Let me pray by their door. Or, hey, don't, I'm late for work. I really got to go. It's, 7 o'clock because I know you guys like sleeping, 8 o'clock maybe. I got to be up like 6:45. I'm leaving, okay? But anyways.
You want a pat on the back for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm rushing out, and it's really easy to say, I got to get going. I'm running late. I don't have time to do that prayer. Well, let me make sure I'm sending my family off in a peaceful way and not in a hurried way. Because and this book talks about it and outlines it really, really well. It's like, if that becomes the routine, and that becomes the habit, well, then all of a sudden you're going to find your kids by the time they're 3, 4, 5, they're going to be rushing and frantic. It's like they're not taking that time to slow down and enjoy those moments.
That's good.
Yeah, having an unhurried time with the family is super important.
Yep.
Well, I think practically too, finding out what your wife likes. Like my wife loves to go to the beach. Now, luckily, I like to go to the beach too. So anytime she says, I want to go to the beach on this day, I'm like, absolutely. But there's other things that she likes, right? And it's finding that.
Yep.
And for us, like our life stage is very different. Like my boys are self-supporting, right? They can clean their own rooms and fix their own food and whatever.
We're still in diapers, bro.
You're still in diapers. Mine aren't diapers.
We're in size 3 now. We just upgraded.
So it's finding for us, it's finding what she likes. And she asked me to go to Home Goods with her the other day. And I'm like, I really don't want to go. Okay, babe.
Don't take the easy way out and do the husband chair either.
No, I didn't, man. I pushed the buggy.
You walk in, you see those chairs like those chairs.
I pushed the buggy in Home Goods. Let that sink in for a second.
That's a big deal.
I pushed the buggy in Home Goods.
That could be a shirt.
That means no.
I pushed the buggy.
That means
I don't just show up. I show out. I push the buggy.
I always want to push the buggy because I feel like I have some purpose here. I just feel like walking around, following her around.
Well, and then I start looking, and I'm like, ooh, I want that. And then anyway,
what a candle.
But for us, it's finding that time.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Finding that time to be together.
For sure.
What about you?
Yeah. So.
Because I know you posed that question because you probably had a dope answer.
That's actually not true. And if I had, I would have forgotten it by now.
You gotta do this.
Yeah, that's usually you crossing your fingers is the general sign.
That's
that
a Carly Martin trick right there.
And unfortunately, mine were uncrossed by accident. But no, I mean, I do think from doing it wrong for a long time, like one of the things that has been very practical, talking about the phones, talking about coming home, taking that time to clock in, is sometimes I'll take an extra 5 to 10 minutes and I'll send out the text messages, or I'll really just kind of close out the day on my phone so that I can go in and I'll put it on focus mode. Right. And I've got a certain focus mode for when I'm at home. And so there's only 3 or 4 people that can come through.
Right.
I put it, take it off silent. So now I know if these people, reach out, it's probably an emergency.
I feel like I'm not one of those.
And well, you will be after this is.
Am I one of those?
You're one of those.
Sweet.
And I just don't know that it's beneficial to go through the whole list. I don't see as many positives as there are negatives for that. But so I go and I'll plug the phone in.
I got it right there. I got it. I'll own that one. So
I'll plug the phone in. And then I don't touch it again until after the kids go down, and just make sure that the day's kind of taken care of that way. And that's really one of the biggest things. But I just started thinking about, again, presence. And one of the best things I've heard for that one is like, we're never going to get as dads, we're never going to get to the end of, our kid growing up and go, man, I really wish that I had spent less time. Mm-hmm. Like, really wish that I had taken more time, or invest in my hobby. Like, no, we're going to go, man, I really wish I could go back and do that again.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like a dad kind of mailman for like plus years. I mean, got up, went to work, came home, got up, went to work. I mean, just not once did he ever go out drinking with buddies or go out and have a night and just not stay the night. I mean, he was home every single night. Worked a lot of hours and did a lot of overtime and things like that. But when he came, like I was his, and there was one time I had a really rough, kind of like that cycle breaker. Like he could have easily into the same patterns with. But his thing was, and we may have people that would listen to this that would be experiencing this, and it's tempting to just fall into what you're seeing.
Right.
I want to raise my kids the way I wish I was raised. So there was one time.
That's good.
Again, obsessed with baseball my whole life. It's all I wanted to do. Every day for years, he would come home. If there was any left in the day, my glove, his glove, and a baseball, and just be waiting for him. And one day he had one of those rough days where he had every excuse in the world to not want to do it. I said, "Hey, Dad, you want to play catch?" He said, "No, not today," which was a shock to me because he had never told me that before. I was probably 6 or 7. Walked in the house, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that." And within 10 seconds, came back out, apologized, said, "I'll never do that again," because his dad didn't play catch one time, not one time in his life. And he's never going to regret, of course, out in that one last game of catch.
So I go back to our statement. Like your daughter wanted to be present, right? She wanted you to be present. How old are you?
27.
You're 27 years old, and you're recalling a moment from your childhood where you wanted your dad to be present.
Yeah.
And I think that just speaks volumes to the conversation.
It lasts, man.
It lasts. So if you're a dad listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out whether or not you're watching it or whatever, you need to understand your kids desire your presence. Your wife
and
desires
deserve
your presence. They deserve it.
Yeah.
They desire it. They want it. And men, may we step up as men and as well, because when they're 27 years old, you're remembering that moment.
Amen.
You're remembering that moment that my dad said no. You crave the attention, and kids today are craving the attention.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're craving the attention from dad.
And when they don't get it, they're seeking.
That's another conversation for another podcast.
For sure.
They're going to make a father figure out of something.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to make a father figure out of something.
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, tune in next time to the Every Dad podcast. You don't want to miss it. Right here, like, subscribe, tell your people, all that stuff. Every Dad podcast. See you next time.